All right, I'll say we can, we'll jump in, and if people are still trickling in, that's fine. So just want to introduce myself really quickly. My name is Cal Quarters, and I'm the manager of neighborhood economic development for Center State CEO, and I'll be moderating our event tonight. Just a couple of housekeeping items. One, this is going to be recorded. It's possible that we will put this on the Center State website, and I know Vicki might put this on some of her platforms as well, so just want you all to be aware that this is being recorded. Vicki's going to present for 45 minutes or so, and then the last 15 minutes we'll open it up for questions. But what we'll do is if you have questions during a presentation, if you could just put them in the chat box, and then at the end of the presentation, I'll read them back and Vicki will address those questions. And then finally, I'm not sure if you guys have heard Vicki speak before, but she's a very engaging speaker, and she likes to feel and see faces and feel the energy in the room. So the virtual room. So if you could show your faces, that would be awesome, just so we can kind of get a sense of where you guys are during the presentation. So I just quickly want to mention or talk a little bit about what Generation Next is. Generation Next is a Center State CEO initiative that seeks to attract and retain diverse talent to available opportunities in Central New York. We're looking to foster opportunities for career advancement and connect talented, diverse professionals through social engagement and networking opportunities. And this is just one of those networking and social engagements. So without further ado, I will give a quick bio of Vicki, and then we'll jump into things. So Vicki Brackens is the president and financial planner of Brackens Financial Solutions Network. She has over 25 years of experience as an entrepreneur working in the area of financial education and financial services. She was co-host of Financial Fitness on PBS affiliate WCNY in Syracuse, New York. Financial Fitness was WCNY's longest running weekly show until its sunset in 2015. Vicki is a graduate of the University of Houston in Houston, Texas, where she earned a degree in biology. Although a scholar of life sciences, she chose another career path, building an impressive list of credentials as a successful administrator at ELS Language Center as the director of courses, and later on at Century 21 Financial Services. After completing a successful two and a half decade career with MetLife Financial Services, she associated her financial services firm, Brackens Financial Solutions Network. Beginning November of 2018, she started associating her firm with LPL Financial. At BFSN, there are 4 principles that guide every client interaction: advocate, advise, monitor, and motivate. She is known throughout the community for helping clients answer the question, what's important about money to you? In 2008, Vicki founded the World of Cheddar LLC. The World of Cheddar LLC is a software development startup company harnessing the benefits of simulations and games on learning and behavioral change. In cooperation and partnership with the School of Information Studies at Syracuse University, they are investigating the power of games and simulations provide when used to develop skills in personal financial decision making. Vicki serves as a research associate at the iSchool. Vicki's appeared in many public speaking venues, MetLife National Leaders Conference, National Associations of Black Journalists, and many more. In addition to holding personal financial management seminars at various colleges and universities and community venues, she also has been featured as an industry thought leader in media outlets such as WTVH, a CBS affiliate, Black Enterprise, Essence, and a few others. Vicki is an active community leader, having served as a board member and on the finance and development committees of the Central New York Community Foundation, as a foundation board member of the Milton J. Rubenstein Museum of Science and Technology, a member of the Raymond Von Dran IDA Board of Advisors, a member of the Board of Directors at Rosemont Gifford Zoo, and as a member of the Syracuse Area Salvation Army Advisory Board. Vicki is incredibly active in her community. She is a recipient of Center State CEO's Business of the Year Award in 2018, the New York Journal Award for 25 influential Black women in business and many others. And Vicki, I apologize. If I read your whole bio, we'd be here all day. You're just that popular.
I keep telling you, hey, stop.
So without further ado, I will turn it over to Vicki to dive into things.
Cal, thank you so much. I apologize to our audience. I think when I forwarded over the bio, I sent the long version versus the short version. But I appreciate the fact that you went through all of those accolades and awards and so forth, because I mean, it's important, but what's most important to me today is really what we have before us as far as our discussion. I'm always surprised by my reaction to, and you know, when I get an invitation from an audience, I can usually tell by my level of energy and my nervousness and excitement just how important the audience is to me. And you know, I may not be explaining this exactly perfectly, but let me say it to you this way. I have had dreams about this presentation, both good and bad. So much so that it's kept me up at night, and I've probably rewritten this 2 or 3 times because I'm really, really pumped up about this. And yesterday, I finally realized why. It's you. It's speaking to you that really has me pumped up, because speaking to Generation Next means that I'm cool. And I haven't been cool in a really long time. So I appreciate this. And I know that I can't blow it, because then you're going to tell everybody else, okay, that she was supposed to be cool, but she's not. But Generation Next really gives me the opportunity to do something that I have, that people in my generation really feel a strong drive for right now. And that's an opportunity to pass the torch. I know that you probably, you know, you've heard that term before, and you may be wondering, you know, like, when are you guys ever going to pass this torch? But there is a tremendous energy around passing the torch to this generation that is bubbling up with my generation, which is called the baby boomer generation, because we know that at this point in time, you must step forward. We are here to support you, but you must step forward. So I'm going to put on my Superwoman cape. I hope you can see it. Got my Superwoman cape on and invite you to join me in a story. So let's get started. Now, before I start this, I want everybody to make sure, because since you're probably either at home or in your office, grab 3 or 4 pieces of paper real quickly and a pencil, because you're going to need this. Because we're going to do some exercises together that are going to be very important toward the success of this afternoon. I want you to think about this. You're going to need your imagination. Think about the time when you were a kid, before you had all the baggage of adulthood, when it was full, you know, it was a lot of fun to just play. We're going to write your own story today. And here are the points that we want to incorporate. So here's the first thing I'd like to say. I hope that all of you know the character Yoda. I was thinking about ages the other day, but I think you probably know Yoda from Star Wars, excuse me, okay? He has a saying that I love, which is, difficult to see, always in motion is the future. Again, difficult to see, always in motion is the future. So here's where I'd like to start. We're going to do an exercise together. On your piece of paper, I'd like for you to draw a spiral or a corkscrew. I've got one here. What I'm really most concerned about is the spirals here. Draw, and for those of you who, you know, who are real wine drinkers, you know what this is. Those of you who still use the twist tops, no. This is real wine bottle stuff. Draw a corkscrew. Now, once you've drawn that corkscrew, to sit back, square up your shoulders, relax, close your eyes. Come on, trust me, I can see the eyes. Close your eyes, please close your eyes. And I want you to breathe in and imagine traveling up that spiral to the top. And when you get to the top, breathe out. Let's do that one more time. travel up the spiral, going through each turn. Hopefully you've got at least 4 turns. When you get to the top, let's breathe out. Now, as you're going up to the top, I'd like for you to think about life and the things that are around you and all the things that you see in the journey. And as you get to the top, I'd like for you to write at the top a line. Just draw a line. Now, breathe in again. Keep your eyes closed. Breathe out. And let's travel down to the bottom of the spiral. Go down through the bottom of the spiral. Look at the scenery. Feel the air. Enjoy the sun on your face. And when you get to the bottom of the spiral, draw another line. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, on that line, please write in your date of birth. Quickly. And we're going to go rapidly to the top of that spiral. And at the top, I want you to breathe in, breathe out, write your date of death. Breathe. And as you're coming down the spiral to the bottom again, as you come down, when you get to the rung where you are right now, place a big X. Stop and look at that X. What are you thinking? And how are you feeling? I'd like to see some answers in that chat room right now. What are you thinking? And what are you feeling? So now we're going to go into our next exercise. Some interesting comments there. What are you thinking? And how are you feeling? All right, I want you to take the spiral and put it to the side. Take out the next piece of paper, and I'd like for you to draw a pyramid. Or a triangle. And across the triangle, starting from the bottom, draw 5 lines equally apart. So you're slicing the pyramid all the way up, 5 sections. And on the first section, I'd like for you to write the word poor. The next one, broke. The next one, stable. The next level, prosperous. And the final level, rich. Now in the white space outside of the pyramid, it could be either the left or right side, that's up to you. I'd like you to draw a circle, and inside that circle, write the word wealthy. Let's put that drawing aside and go on to the next exercise. And here, you're going to create your own hieroglyphic or create your own pictogram. And you're going to write this story in your own pictogram or hieroglyphic. Here are the words. You turn them into a photo. Time plus money, time plus work equals money to buy things or buy experiences. Because money is a claim on human labor. You got it again? I'll repeat it. Time plus work equals money to buy things or buy experiences, because money is a claim on human labor. So take a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or so, draw your own pictogram that represents that saying and that truth. And I'll probably ask, okay, at the end of before we go today, I'd like to see some pictograms to see exactly what we came up with. Now we're going to put all of these exercises together. As you heard earlier, at one point in my career, which still exists, I owned a company called the World of Cheddar. The World of Cheddar, okay, is a gaming company, and I worked in the gaming industry in developing a financial literacy platform based on some very important things that I had discovered throughout my life. And that is that role play is the most important thing to developing good habits for decision making, which is why most of the work that I do with clients is about answering the question, what if? You happen to be in a generation where knowledge, as far as facts and data points and finding information, is extremely easy these days. I mean, it only takes 2 seconds to hit Google and say, tell me about whatever. Okay? We have taken away from that, thinking that getting information is what's driving proper financial preparedness. But it really is understanding how to navigate the decision-making trees, the decision-making process relative to your decisions that you have to make on a daily basis that brings about the greatest level of preparedness. So I started out with looking at the spiral, and then the pyramid and the pictogram, because I want you to line those 3 things up and answer this question for yourselves. And that is, if I have limited amount of time and I want to change my status in life, and I understand that my time plus my work is going to create the resource, how should I move forward? And we're going to play the what if game together. So let's go back and look at the pyramid here for a second. I am a big proponent of making sure that we call things the right things, okay? That we look at the words that we use, and those words will drive our attitudes and our aptitudes for accomplishing the things that we need in life. Poor, broke, stable, prosperous, and rich. Here are my definitions for poor. I look at poor, and I'm not discounting anyone's circumstance, but I look at poor as being this. Poor is being without resource and without options. And I don't think there's anyone here, or very few people here online today, who would categorize themselves as being poor, or possibly ever truly poor under that definition. Without resource and without options, because it's the combination of those two that drive poor within the realm of for financial preparedness. The next one, though, I think a lot of people may have been in. I know I have, and that is broke. I mean, profoundly broke. Finding money in the cushion broke. Going into the piggy bank and turning it over, make sure I have enough money. Well, you're a little bit younger than I am. Enough money for $5 worth of gas to fill up the car broke to get to work. We have been profoundly broke before. Some of us may be teetering on broke right now. But there is a huge difference between broke and poor. You have options when you're broke. You may have limited resource. The next one is where we're all looking at stable, and stable is under my definition is you are able to make things meet, the ends meet. There is just enough money to make it to the end of the month. But we are in a position where we do feel as though we have some level of stability and we're not constantly in a state of stress relative to our money. Prosperous, obviously, I think most of you understand the difference here. Prosperous is more than enough to satisfy all of our needs. And finally, rich is there is never a question about what we need on a financial basis. But I had you put the word wealthy on the side because the wealth definition for us, for me, and for how I work with clients really stems around making sure that we understand that wealth gives us the ability to live the life that we want with the resources that we have. And I don't include it in this pyramid because it's actually a concept, a state of being that can travel up and down that pyramid between stable, prosperous, and rich. So I want you to decide for yourselves right now which part of this pyramid you are in. Go ahead and mark that out and think about the spiral and the formula concerning time, work, and money to decide what are you willing to sacrifice to move your status up this pyramid. Because you have to answer the question, what's important about money to me, before we actually tackle a strategy to satisfy your need for or you accomplishing the area of wealth. Because difficult to see, always in motion is the future. Don't forget that saying. All right. So now, game design. I know all of you are probably gamers of some sort. We've got, games that are action-packed games that are there for challenges. My favorite types of games are role play games. Deciding how to make decisions using role play games is probably one of the best training tools that I have ever seen. Because role play games force you into the question of what if? And then what's next? And when we start looking at preparedness, we start looking at how to prepare for the future. It is absolutely necessary for you to practice the what if and the what next in order to be fully prepared. So let's build on an adventure at this point in time. We just came through or in the middle of one of the greatest financial and health challenges that we've ever faced. I've been in the industry now for over 30 years. I can tell you that I've gone through, in fact, I started my career on right after Black Monday in 1987. Black Monday, was, the stock market again crashed. And I was probably 2 days into my career at that point in time, didn't have any clients, so it didn't affect me personally as much, but I watched the reaction of other brokers in my firm and watched the reaction of what was happening to individual clients. But what we're experiencing right now, we could not have anticipated, but we could pivot around as far as how to handle this. So my question to you is, how often do you practice mentally going through scenarios in your head of what would I do under certain circumstances? So here's my first question. What would you do if tomorrow your employer called and said, there's a 20% layoff that impacts you. You can go ahead and write your answer down. If that happens, what's next? What would you do next? And after you've answered that question, what would you do if the following day you found out that your home was you no longer had the funds to pay for your mortgage? What would you do next? And then after that, what would you do if the following week you found out, through no fault of your own, that you could no longer pay your car note? What would you do next? Or if you were actually a business owner, what if tomorrow the water line in front of your building exploded and you could no longer have water in your building and your employees all had to be sent home? Walking through the scenarios of what if and what's next now will lay up the foundation for what we're going to do a couple of weeks from now, which is what tools to use in order to plug into what's next. Because the future itself is always moving. That's not a platitude, that's a fact. The current environment that we're in requires that to be prepared, you've got to constantly run through a scenario base, and I would suggest that you do this so that you can look at not only what I see in front of me now, but what's the next step, the next step, and the next step. I found out from, I used to think that clients were hiring us to actually work through the math of their problems, and the math of the problems are actually very simple. What they really hire a financial planning team to do is to work through scenarios with them on preparedness and give you the visualization of what needs to be done as far as a moving target within your life. The main thing is to make sure that we are utilizing the tools that we have for practice, because just like you have to practice in your, whether it be playing a piano or an instrument, you're building a muscle memory. So one of the things that I've seen is that in building that muscle memory within gaming, using gaming to do so is one of the best tools that we can do as far as preparing for the future. So I want you to go back and pull out now your 3 pictures, your 3 exercises, lay them side by side, and answer this question. What's important about money to me? And I should see some of that in the chat room right now. What's important about money to me? Now, I didn't say why is money important. I see some of those. I said, what's important about money to me? So I'm looking for some answers. No one cares. Someone says here, okay, I have one answer that says for secure places and people, and to provide for myself. So I'm going to use the one that says to provide for myself. I know you're there. I'm not going to read a name, but to provide for myself. So once you have, this is for everyone, once you have provided for yourself, what's important about being able to provide for yourself to you? We'll use that person's answer. And once you're no longer a burden to others, what's important about not being a burden to others to you? So if you're not a burden to others and you can provide for yourself, what's important about being able to help others to you? Now that we know that you have the resources to help others, and you are not a burden to others, and you can provide for yourself, and you know that you can help others and not be a burden, what's important about that status to you? So if you've reached a point where you have reached that status, at what point do you feel that you have reached a fulfilled life? And knowing that your family is everything to you because you can have the ability to help them and you now have a fulfilled life. What if tomorrow you had to make a decision between that fulfilled life and an opportunity that would take you away from your family? What happens next? I cry. I hear I'll choose my family. So if you cry and you choose your family, what happens next concerning your career? Are you prepared? So I look for another opportunity. So how have you prepared to be able to make that choice immediately? And once you've made that choice, how far has that taken you up your spiral? By diversifying your skills, how far has that taken you up your spiral? Does that increase your feeling of wealth, or does that decrease your feeling of wealth? And once you reach your level of wealth that's important to you, what happens if you are challenged in that way again? And finally, what tools do you have in your arsenal to execute that plan? So what I've seen over the last 30 years as far as preparedness is concerned, very nice. I love some of these answers. What I've seen over the last 30 years as far as preparedness is concerned is that decision-making and anticipation and understanding the decision-making tree, practicing through exercises like this. And I still do this day after day, every day, thinking about what could happen, what if, and rolling out a scenario in front of myself, particularly around big decisions, but also the things that could come at us at any point in time. Having that mental capability, having and exercising through that on a constant basis puts you in a position where when it's time to make decisions, you have at least some level of practice that you've already gone through. I think it's really unfair and unfortunate that when we teach financial literacy, that we spend so much time on terminology and very little time on actual role play. Because unfortunately, many times the role play happens when you're in stress. An event happens and you have to role play it from scratch right at that point, rather than to have had the ability to work through role playing situations around your finances without being punished at the same time. Because if you're under stress, more than likely some mistakes are going to happen and it's going to be costly as far as your finances are concerned. So I encourage you to walk through the what if with each other. I mean, truly, okay, sit down and just role play situations as often as you possibly can with someone that you trust, to really build up the muscle memory around what if, what's next? What if, what's next? Because it relates to what's important to you, not only about your money, but about your life and also your existence. Because you need to create the capacity to pivot ahead of time. As I said, Kane, before I close here, we're going to spend time in our next meeting looking at the specific tools that connect to the decisions that you're making. But until you understand what the decision tree is, we cannot make the right choices of the tools because they will not apply to the proper decisions. So please practice your strategies. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in between. It's at brackensfsn.com is the website, or info@brackens.com. Number's 315-930-4499. Between now and then, okay, be happy to answer any specific questions. We're going to do some of the questions now, but please remember, difficult to see, always in motion is the future. Your preparedness is built around your decisions that you need to make on a daily basis. Practice. Thanks a lot. Cal, it's up to you now.
Well, one, could you put a link to your information in the chat, Vicki? That could be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Melissa, would you do that for me, please? Thanks.
And I was monitoring and didn't see any questions come through. Does anyone have anything that they would like to ask Vicki about some of the things that she described?
I have a question.
So we're trying to keep them in the chat, but if you're muted, you can go ahead and ask, since you've already.
Okay. I would like to know if Vicki's business is a profit or nonprofit organization.
Sure. So Brackens Financial Solutions Network, which is my financial planning firm, is a for-profit.
Okay. That's all that was
it. That's so easy.
Because I can't really, get too deep into my personal thing, because I want to have respect for everybody else and leave room for everybody else to ask questions.
Okay. Feel free to call me. You got the number.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sweetheart.
Looks like a question came through. I am a baby boomer and I did not plan properly for my future. I have about 5 years left before retirement. What sort of plan should I put in place now?
This is very general because there are lots of specifics I need to know in order to say, and I'd encourage you to give us a call to look at specifics. But what I would say is, first of all, is you need to visualize what kind of retirement you want to have. Retirement is a really big, fuzzy kind of thing for most of us. Creating a picture of what my retirement is the first step, because then you can start to focus the tools that are necessary to accomplish that. So truly, not just I want to retire, but I want to retire where, when, doing what will my life look like? How, you know, is it alone? Is it local? Is it all of those things? I mean, very much in living color, focus out to what that retirement really means. And then from there, I'll just say it honestly, find someone who can help you take that picture and focus the picture into action steps for you to follow to hit the goal. Sometimes the picture is bigger than what our resources are, but you can't tell until you actually create the picture. Do it now. Don't keep letting it roll around in your head. If you need someone to help you focus through it, then you know, reach out to a professional. Feel free to give us a call. Yes, Cal.
Okay, we have another one. I have always assumed I wouldn't be able to retire, but now I know I will have to. This is making me think more seriously about it. Thanks. Okay, it's more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
I guess I have a question for you, Vicki. And I know I don't want to ask or make you give away too much of things that you're going to talk about in the future at other sessions, but if you are someone who is in the poor bracket or and doesn't have options or resources, what are some things someone can do to educate themselves or to try to pivot their approach to continue to work their way up through that pyramid?
Okay. If you have no options and you have no resources, then I would say our first step would be to reach out to the tools that are available to increase both of those things. For example, I'm assuming you're an adult since you're on this call. So there are several not-for-profits that have classes and concerning increasing your educational opportunities, classes concerning building additional skills. In fact, Center State CO does, as far as the work train program, so that you can build skills that make you more employable, to create a different resource bank for you. So reach out to many of the organizations that do those types of things so that you can increase not only your resources as far as your monetary resources, but the skill level that you have, which are your options simultaneously. And I would start there.
So more of a comment that was just put into the chat, but I think it could be a good question is how can someone, so the comment was inflation is a big worry of mine. How can someone take that into consideration, inflation, when they're investing or just thinking about money as a whole?
Okay. Inflation as a concept, which is, you know, pretty easy to understand, is, you know, things cost more in the future than they do in the past. Inflation as a monetary concept around increase in or decrease in money's value against money's value in the future. Building your portfolio or building your financial plan or your strategy, you need to look at what the historical numbers are around inflation and make sure that your money is at least growing at a rate after taxes on a net basis to account for inflation. There are calculations that can be done to account for that, but you also have to make sure that when you're looking at inflation, that you're looking at the right inflationary brackets. Here's what I mean by that. Healthcare costs grow at a different rate than the nominal inflation rate. As we get older, one of our biggest consuming items is what? Healthcare. So rather than just looking at the inflation rate around general things like bread, milk, food, and so forth, we have to take a special look at what's happening with your healthcare inflationary numbers. So in general, build a portfolio structure that accounts for creating a net income that at least keeps you in even with inflation as you go forward. If you want more information, I'm trying to keep this very general. If you want to dig deeply into your own personal situation, give us a call and we'll talk about that in a more specific way.
There was another question in the chat, but I guess I just wanted to kind of comment on what you just said, Vicki. It sounds like in terms of money, it sounds like there are very specific situations. So you laying out the general overview was very helpful, but looking for more of a detailed synopsis of your own situation, it requires further investigation and further questions, right?
That is correct.
So there was a question that says, what are some examples of the nonprofits that offer various services? And I guess, and that's a general question. Are there more specific things that you're looking to understand? Because that might be able to help determine what nonprofits would be helpful for you.
Right. If somebody, whoever that is, if they could be a little bit more specific, then we'll.
Okay. It says services and education.
Oh, services. Girls Inc. Center State CEO. Morrisville College. See who else. In fact, I think also, well, the city school district offers adult education classes. Then you have a lot of your the SBA has special programs around entrepreneurship, etc.
Does that answer your question? So I would like to open a nonprofit, but I need help writing my business plan.
Oh, Central New York Community Foundation is a good place to go, I believe. Okay, with some help with that, or the SBA. I don't know. Does Center State still do that, Cal?
We do help with business plan writing. Yes, we could help with that. Yep. I'll actually jot down a couple of the folks in the chat here.
Okay. WISE, thank you very much. Whoever said that for WISE. I'm sorry, I forgot WISE Center. Anything else?
There any other questions or comments?
I see the comment there on SCORE. I have not worked with SCORE for a while. Do they still, I'm asking the person who wrote the comment on SCORE, do they still have a local operation? Thank you very much. Okay. The answer was yes, they did a year ago, but not sure now. Okay. SCORE is a wonderful organization that partners and pairs seasoned entrepreneurs with new entrepreneurs to help them with everything from business plan structure to really understanding and building business acumen and all the tools that are necessary to run a business successfully. So I hope they still have a local operation. Okay.
So if there aren't any other questions or comments, I think we can give you guys back 6 or 7 minutes in your day. Keep an eye out. Vicki does have 2 more scheduled conversations. Is that right? Right, Vicki?
That is correct. Okay. And in fact, Lisa, if you want to put that up for a second, the last slide showing what the additional conversations that we're going to have. Okay, so these are the additional resources there. Okay, but if you could go back a couple of slides for me. Which are, there we go. Oh, we lost her. Okay. What if, what's available, and what about me? Okay. And then what's available, we're really going to go through the tools to help you effectively build a preparedness plan. And then what about me really is about giving you the opportunity to come prepared with very specific questions around some of the things that you've experienced or had challenges around that we can use as talking points around some of our role play. We'll role play out those particular situations. So I expect that to be a really lively conversation that day.
Yep, and if you keep an eye on our website, I don't believe we have the particular dates scheduled at this point in time, but if you keep an eye on our website, we do release that information under our events tab. And yes, you would have to register for those individual events. Well, thank you all for participating and being a part of this robust conversation, and we look to see you guys back in the future. Have a great evening, everyone.